Yeah.
That's such a good sign. And the webinar yesterday with Scott was so great. I mean, I have not got I mean, I spoke with Scott so many times, but it was the
Hmm.
first time we did something live. So
Yeah.
it was really nice. He has a really good energy.
He asks really good questions. I mean, I've known Scott pretty well. We've been good friends for a couple of years now. And he asks really good questions, I always find. Like, he knows, he's very
Exactly.
insightful. Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's
Exactly.
been around forever in this business. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, we
Hmm.
are very early and we already have 6, 7, 8 friends with us. So, hi
Cool.
guys, thank you for being early. That's always such a good thing. We'll just wait a minute or two and then we'll get started because since you guys are here, you know, we want to make sure we provide value. But until then, Chris, tell me,
Yes.
how are you doing since, I don't know, we always,
Yesterday?
yeah, since yesterday.
I'm really good. I got up extra early just for you because I usually wake up at like 8:30. I'm on the West Coast, but because you're awesome, I decided I would wake up early. I've been nervous all night. I had dreams about it.
I don't believe. I bet that you did it because I mean, I know we have a wonderful connection. That's the
We
best way
do,
to
yes.
put it in our
True.
industry. Uh,
Hmm.
but I know you don't have any reasons to worry because it's just what you do, right? It's
That's
like
what I do. That's what I
this is
do. I'll
easy.
be fine. Yeah, it's actually funny. I was talking to because I've been on television before, like my Michael Fiore, Rachel Ray stuff, and I've spoken in front of 6, 7, 800 people on stages before, all that kind of fun stuff, right? And it's funny because I was talking to my wife and a couple of friends about how like they were saying like, oh, public speaking is like so many people's biggest fear. And it's just funny because it never even dawns on me remotely to be scared of public speaking. I mean, I've done it enough at this point that it's like walking a tightrope when you've done it a bunch of times. You're like, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing at this point. Yeah.
You do. I mean, honestly, it's a superpower. For you, it
Yeah.
sounds like, oh my gosh, not a problem. I'll do it. Do you need slides? I'll get them done for you.
Yeah,
Good
totally.
content, not an issue. I'll do it. And then, it's actually for most people, it's like terrifying having to,
Yeah.
to present or do stuff. It's.
No, as people that know me know, I can talk forever, especially about marketing. So copywriting and marketing, I can talk forever and ever and ever, and often have on long podcasts with friends. So this will be fun. We're going to talk about storytelling today, which is kind of my jam, like punch in the gut storytelling, how to get people to like really emotionally invest in your stories so that by the time you actually try to sell them something, they're just like, give me your money. Exactly. I want to give you I don't know, whatever, figure it out. It'll be fun.
That's
Do, do, do,
awesome.
do, do. Yeah.
Well, I have one more surprise for you. I don't know if you've met Andy yet. Andrea is the new MaxWeb ninja. She is fantastic. So I asked her to join and just be.
She has awesome glasses. Those are
I
super
know.
cool. Yeah.
That's exactly what we said last time after the webinar. Everyone on the team wanted a new pair of glasses, and now
Yeah.
I have to make it happen. I have to be the nice boss and be like, sure, everyone gets glasses.
I used to have giant glasses back in the day. I think I got LASIK like 10, 11 years ago now. After I broke like 3 pairs of glasses inside 1 year, right? Like at one point I was at a concert and they got knocked off my head. At another point I like sat on them or whatever. And so I got LASIK. And the weird thing was that like a year after I got LASIK, I was reading the newspaper here in Seattle. Newspapers with these things on paper that people would read for those who are watching. And I read that the place where I got my LASIK done, that one of the partners had tried to hire the Russian mob to kill the other partner. So it wasn't so not the doctor who did my LASIK, but his partner tried to have him killed. And the way he did it, I guess they had a Russian IT guy, like from Russia, like an IT guy from Russia. And at one point, this partner, he went to the Russian IT guy and he was like hinting around. He's like, so do you know anybody who can knock off my partner for me?
You're Russian, so you have to.
Of course, he's Russian, so therefore he must be inside the Russian mob
You're
in
in
some way.
some sort of mob.
Exactly. And so the Russian IT guy immediately, as he should have, went to the FBI, because that's what you do in those cases. And they
Right?
set up a sting, and the guy got dragged off in handcuffs and arrested. And I'm pretty sure the guy who was the victim or would have been murdered ended up with the whole business. So, hey, good for him.
Oh, wow. So I don't know. So do you feel good? Are your eyes okay?
Oh, they're great. It's been
Okay.
like 10 or 11 years now.
He was a wonderful doctor and just a terrible human.
No,
That's
no, no. My doctor was, I don't know if he was a terrible human, but he certainly wasn't somebody that was trying to have his partner murdered.
okay.
It was, yeah. My doctor, Dr. A, was the one who did my LASIK. Dr. B is the one who tried to hire the Russian mob to kill his business partner.
Good, good. I was worried there for a second. I thought was where you
I've
were.
heard of some tough business. I was actually just signing a deal yesterday with a couple of friends of mine, some of whom you know, for an offer that we're doing in the supplement space. And it's funny because whenever you sign these things, it's exciting. It's going to be good. We're doing the fun. We've been working on this copy for like a month now. We've like gone through it like 50 times basically.
Can
And
you
we're
tell
about
us anything about it?
yeah, you can ask something, but I can't tell you what the offer is yet because we haven't launched
Can
it
you
yet.
tell me the niche? Like, is it weight loss?
It's for men. I will tell you that.
That helps.
I'm not going to tell you anything else, but it's specifically for men. And the copy is very much written towards 65-year-old conservative white men. So you know, they're a little misogynistic, they're a little bit racist. We don't really go there, but we know who our market is.
Right.
We
It
know
was
who
really not to admit.
they're Trumpies. You know, there are a lot of Trumpies. Basically, they firmly believe that America is being torn away from them and all that kind of crazy stuff.
And we're making an offer for them. Good.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun though. Like I really enjoy writing copy for people who I don't agree with. Like I really enjoy
That's
that.
brilliant. I mean, behind a good copywriter, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I'm definitely not an expert. But I used to love writing classes in college, content writing. And my favorite part was when you had to write both sides of the argument, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So you had an argument, and you know, doing a really good job in class meant that you had to argue both sides impeccably. So you're right. I
had like a rhetoric teacher in high school who told me that like to really be good at arguments and debate, you need to be able to articulate your opponent's side even better than they can, right? Like you need to really be able to say, okay, here's what you're saying and confirm it before you can actually kind of show and tear it down. And you really just, actually this is a thing too, before we really get started. I've been in marketing and direct marketing for 15 years now, I think, something like that. I'm an old man, despite my youthful mustache.
No one believes you. You're so handsome. I mean, no one believes.
Thank you very much. Oh, I appreciate that very much. But one thing I learned early on, I would meet people who are in marketing who really seem to have a level of like contempt for their market, right? They would kind of be, they're like, oh, well, these people are our victims, essentially, or people that we're trying to sell people to. My ex-wife, actually, I remember at one point, there's a reason she's my ex-wife, but at one point she was asking me, she was like, who are these women who buy these products? Because I have my Michael Fiore stuff. We have like 10 products and things. And my response was, I was like, honey, they're the people that bought our house is who they are. And you really should respect them. They're just in a lot of pain. They're in a lot of pain around relationships. And that's why we're there to help them. But I always say you have to love your market, even if you don't agree with them.
I 100% agree. And, you know, since it's time, I want to do my small intro. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to our amazing webinar. Andy and I were brainstorming on special stuff we can do for you moving forward. And one of them was to bring on guests. It's not something common. We usually do it as a, you know, special treat. And Chris is not just someone that has made millions and millions of dollars in our space. He actually knows what he's talking about. Amazing copywriter. He has a bunch of offers that do very well. And on top of that, he's actually a great human being. So it's a plus for him to have him here. So Chris, welcome.
Hi, I love you too. I'm so glad we've gotten to be better friends this last like 6 months or a year or something like that.
It's just going up from here. And honestly, when you shared earlier that we can, you're working on a supplements offer.
Yeah.
I'm very excited because that's our secret. You know, we are here today because I really wanted to share with our affiliates, everyone that's live and, you know, our crowd that's going to be watching later. I've noticed how it's coming back and digital dating offers have been doing well. So I really want to get people excited, but I want to get them excited about good offers. So, you know, at the end of your, you know, presentation, I do want to share 2 offers that are doing very well. You know, the Making Worship You and Language of Desire. They're 2 offers we have on the network that I think you guys are going to love. You know, you're going to get a really high CPA if you run them, but I will let Chris do his thing because
I mean we've spent millions of dollars at this point split testing those offers too. So they're really quite good. Just to like toot my own horn really quickly, so people know that I do know what I'm talking about. I've been in this business since I was 26 or so, something like that. If anything, I wasted that 4 years before that, like being one of those people that didn't think direct marketing worked. I was really like on my high horse about it. And I'm like, who would ever read a sales letter like that? And then my first year as a direct response copywriter, I somehow ended up on like Harlan Kilstein's email list. And I went to some event of his in Las Vegas, and he convinced me to kind of become a freelancer, basically. And I think I made 100 grand my first 6 months in that business, when I previously had never made more than $30,000 in a year. So that was really freaking cool at the time. But anyway, my name back when I was a freelancer was Chris Mr. Moneyfingers Haddad. I worked on copy for guys like Jeff Walker and a bunch of other people in a variety of niches: real estate investing, health, make money online. I did a lot of that kind of stuff. The copy I've written over the years has sold, I don't know the exact number. Stefan Georgi and I were talking about this, but I think it's at least $500 million worth of sales. So, no, granted, I do not have $500 million. If I did, I don't know if I would even be doing this webinar at this point. Who knows?
You would, come on, for me.
I would, it's true, I would. But anyway, I know what I'm doing. My main business for the last 10 years has actually been the business that creates the products, Make Him Worship You, Language of Desire, Text Your Ex Back, Text the Romance, like there's a bunch of them at this point. And what happened basically is like 10 years ago, I created a guy called Michael Fiore, which is my middle name and my mom's maiden name, and decided to become a relationship expert. My ex-wife used to say, who made you a relationship expert? And I said, I did. And then again, we got divorced like 2 years later. So maybe I wasn't that good at it at the time, but that's okay. Your doctor doesn't need to have had a heart attack in order to save your life.
Exactly.
Yes. Anyway, I ended up going on the Rachel Ray show as Michael Fiore. If you search for Michael Fiore, Rachel Ray on YouTube, yeah, you can see me. I don't have a mustache at the time. I'm a little bit more baby-faced. I did a pretty good job in that, and managed to build my digital romance business after that up to the point that we were doing 8 figures in sales every single year, have been for the last 10 years, basically. And I haven't really had to take any freelance copy jobs in that entire time, and that's been great, because freelancing kind of sucks even when you're really good at it and get paid a lot of money. So that's who I am. And now we can actually do what we're going to do today. Anything you want to say at this point before we go any further?
No, not now. I have a bunch of questions, but I really want you to go. And I just want to make a small parallel for everyone watching. So Chris was invited just a week ago at a really super cool, fancy event where people paid a lot of money to see him speak. So he's going to do something very similar for us now. So
I am.
Make sure you take a lot of notes.
Okay, so can you guys see my screen? Can you see the web browser that's on my screen right now? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is storytelling, because the secret sauce, the reason that I was able to create offers that have sold hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of stuff at this point. I think I did the Pimsleur approach 1 year ago, which was a language learning offer that I think did like $100 million in sales all by itself. And the way that I was able to beat their control for that offer was that I took it and I focused it on storytelling instead of facts. Actually, there's a really good offer I did years ago that was a ClickBank #1 for over a year called Power for Home. And it was an offer that was about how to get how to make your own power from home so that you don't have to rely on the crumbling infrastructure of the American power network. And when my buddy Chris came to me and had the original version of that offer, it was very much like, hey, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to make your own power from home, very benefit kind of oriented. I actually increased his conversions by 70%, literally in 2 days, by taking that offer and focusing it on storytelling, and focusing it in that case on male shame. And the idea that you as like a 50-year-old man can't protect your family, can't protect your daughter. There's a really great storytelling line in that really gripped people. I actually saw somebody had ripped it off with some spam thing the other day, and it said something to the effect of, if you're a man or even just have a heart, I know I don't have to tell you how devastated I was when my beautiful little daughter walked into the living room, her lips almost blue, and said, "Daddy, I'm cold." And that story, that little thing there kind of encapsulates the whole story, punches somebody in the gut. I call it punch in the gut storytelling. and got us going. So that what you're seeing on your screen right now is my most current, biggest offer. This has been on ClickBank for about 2 years for us now, has done very, very well. We've been driving thousands of dollars a day worth of YouTube traffic and a smaller amount of Facebook traffic to this offer each and every day, been converting the entire time. So this offer was created as kind of a cleaner version of a previous offer of ours that's also with MaxWeb called the Language of Desire. And the Language of Desire ended up being the ClickBank top 5, I think, for about 2.5 years. It was a dirty talk offer built around teaching women how to, access the sexual part of a man's mind, take control of him, all those kind of wonderful things. That offer did really, really well. We did tens of millions of dollars of sales in it, but we kept running into a wall with it as far as a lot of traffic sources, because even though it wasn't a dirty VSL at all, it did talk about sex. And because it talked about sex, there were certain places that simply wouldn't run it. So a few years ago, I said to myself, hey, we have that offer that works so well. What if I could create another one that's a cleaner version of kind of the same emotional drivers and put that out there? And that's where Make Him Worship You came from. Give me 1 second. So the way that I write copy that's a little different than pretty much anybody else is I'm focused on stories and focused on the emotional aspect of those stories from the very beginning. You'll almost never see a letter that I write that starts with anything beyond some kind of what I call punch in the gut line, punch in the gut story, a moment of crisis. So if you look at this one right here, this offer, Make Him Worship You, is aimed at women, generally 40 years old or older. A lot of them are kind of conservative. I was looking at some data the other day saying that a lot of the women we sell to are big country music fans, weirdly enough, which I didn't know before, but was kind of cool.
What's
and I always say that
music? I love country music.
See, there you go. But I always say the women in our niche, the women that buy our products, are women who have been waiting their whole lives for Prince Charming to show up and are really pissed off that he never did, right? Yeah. They were taught when they were little girls, your Prince Charming is going to come riding in. You're going to find the one. There's going to be that one man who truly sees you and bonds with you, and the two of you will become one and mesh your souls together. And usually by the time they're in their 40s, they're not getting hit on the same way they were. They might have been divorced. They might have been just dated 4 or 5 different guys who all broke their hearts. And they just kind of run up against this wall over and over again where they're trying to find that one amazing, wonderful, handsome, sexy, alpha male, hopefully rich, because that's always convenient guy, and they don't quite seem to be getting it. So what I'm trying to do when I write a VSL like this is I'm trying to find a way with that first line and the story that we start off with to kind of encapsulate all of that person's pain as much as humanly possible. So that when they first see the video, they stop whatever they're doing, and they're almost a little confused at first. They're like, hey, what is this? So we'll read through the very beginning of the video, and then we can talk a little bit. And Anna and Andrea, if you have any questions, anything else, please pipe up. If I seem to be trailing off in some direction, that can happen.
You got it. What I was doing right now, I shared the offers in the chat, and I'll do that again a few times because it has like a pretty preview, and that will help. And I see the number of friends is increasing, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll be mending the chat, so you guys ask me anything. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, and if you want to see the VSL, you can go to hewillworshipyou.com and then click on the little skip to text presentation thing, and you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So it opens up with, he kissed me like I was his sister, and I knew I was alone again. That sister line, by the way, is very specifically there to kind of cause a little bit of a disgust reaction from the very beginning. We're kind of getting a little close to the whole idea of incest in a way, but I want something that where women are reading that and it causes a real visceral reaction. Saying he kissed me like I was his sister, from the very beginning, unless maybe he's from the South somewhere, there's not a lot of passion in that kiss, right? Hopefully. Just 2 weeks ago, he'd been chasing me like I was a hunter, like he was the hunter, and I was the prize he'd been searching for his entire life. You're so beautiful, John would text me out of nowhere in the middle of the day. A smile would bloom on my face. I'd blush, I'd feel this heat in my chest and this wonderful, terrible hope growing in me. I feel myself start to fall. I could fall in love with you, he whispered after the first time we made love, had sex, hooked up. Whatever you want to call it, it was amazing. I wanted him from the very first moment we met, but I made him wait. I wanted him to feel like he earned me. But it was our 4th date, and we were kissing on the couch, and I inhaled the good masculine smell of him and felt the strength in his arms, and I felt so safe and protected and desired. And afterwards we lay there tangled in each other. He ran his fingers through my hair. As I lay my head against his chest and listened to his heartbeat, I let myself believe in some way that maybe, just maybe, it was beating for me. And so what we're doing up to here is we're trying to pace the experience of pretty much every woman in our market and pretty much every woman I know. That experience of, even if your heart has been broken in the past, and by the time they're ready to buy our products, their hearts have been broken in the past. Every single time you go on like one of those internet dates, or a friend sets you up with somebody or whatever else, maybe there's a little bit of a spark, maybe you find this guy kind of interesting, and you find yourself getting excited, right? Even when you tell yourself you shouldn't, even when you tell yourself, hey, maybe this is gonna go wrong again like the other ones have, you find yourself getting excited, you find yourself yearning, you find yourself thinking, hey, maybe this time will be a little bit different. So the copy up to this point is really meant to kind of play the fantasy for them a little bit. And there's a sense of foreboding, I think, as well, because if you're reading this and you already kind of read or saw the video with this opening line, you kind of know where it's going, right? You know that there is tragedy as far as this market is concerned coming up very, very quickly. Any questions? No? Yes? No? Okay, cool.
They'll come. Everyone is writing down the questions. I have a few.
Cool. And we had 2 perfect weeks before you know what happened. 2 perfect weeks of flirty and sexy texts and laughing in bed and talking in vague terms about the soft focus far off future, letting the walls I built around my heart, brick after bitter brick, start to fall. Also, one fun thing with the women's relationship market is I can be as flowery and romantic in the language as I want to be. So I get to take all my old playwriting skills, basically, that I had back in college when I was a little bit younger, and I get to like create fun little phrases like, you know, in vague terms about the soft focus far off future. My buddy David Deutsch and I were talking, and he was telling me that sometimes my copy is too literary. And I said, yeah, dude, but it still converts, and it converts really well in this niche, so it's okay.
That's why we're here. We're here to show pages that convert, right? Because many times we have our prejudice or even our education stands in the way of writing good copy because we think people are sophisticated in their needs, but sometimes it's really the basics. That's what we need, you know, and knowing the market well, because you're not going to sell to yourself. You need to really know your customer.
Yeah, actually, there's a thing that I used to talk to people when I taught copy more often was don't assume that you are your market, right?
Exactly.
Like you know, these people, we're all susceptible, or we're all willing to spend money on direct marketing things if they're hitting the right pain points for us in that moment, right? You want me to get to me to buy something? I mean, it's out there somewhere. So, and then you know what happened. 20 passionate texts a day turned to 10 boring ones. And I can't wait to see you turn to I've been really busy with work. And then suddenly, like a bad nightmare I'd had again and again and again, I was the one chasing him and feeling disgusting and hating myself for it. So again, we're pacing things at this point. This is an experience that even if the exact experience that Kate, the woman in the video, is going through hasn't been experienced by the person watching the video, they've been through something similar, right? They've been through this experience, getting really, really excited, meeting a guy, maybe you sleep with him and then all of a sudden he's ghosting on you the next day. I'm actually gonna write a new lead for this that's around that kind of theme soon. And this bit here, I was the one chasing him and feeling disgusting and hating myself for it is really important because I know from knowing our market really well, from reading thousands of emails written to Michael Fiore. I had a stalker show up in Seattle once, by the way. That was really weird. She thought she was from Atlanta, and she thought, because I write these emails, she thought that she had a relationship with Michael Fiore and flew all the way from Atlanta to try to find me. It was a little bit scary.
You're going to make a movie about you one day.
I've had an interesting life, honestly. Yeah, it's been an interesting life. But this bit here, I was the one chasing him. I know from our market that that is the thing these women do not want the most in the world. Most women in our market find the idea of being aggressive in any way as far as dating, being the person to make the first move, chasing in any way, to be almost like Freddy Krueger. It's the thing they do not want the absolute most in the world. It's in there for a reason. And then we got coffee and the table between us felt like the Grand Canyon. And while he used to pull me towards him, pick me up in his arms and kiss me like a movie star, he just bent down a little and kissed me like his sister and walked away a ghost. And I knew I would never, ever hear from him again. So there's an important thing here. The way I kind of write stories, generally speaking, is I start off with the biggest moment of crisis of the story for the character, right? It's the moment when, if you know anything about, oh God, what am I trying to say? The hero with 1,000 faces, the hero's journey, basically, which is kind of what every single film and TV show you ever see is built around. There's always a moment of crisis where the character has a decision to make between giving up, basically, and going on a journey to become a hero, solve this problem, get what they really want. I want the opening line of this video, any video I do, to be at the moment where, hey, they reach this point where they're just like, my God, I just can't do this anymore. If you look at the language of desire, languagedesire.com, the opening line of that video is something along the lines of, talk dirty to me, he said on our 1-year anniversary. And it's about a woman who's in bed with her boyfriend 1 year in. He says, talk dirty to me. She seizes up, gets all this anxiety because she doesn't know what to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I'll usually do then is I'll go back from that opening line and then tell the story that gets us to that opening line. I'm very purposely not chronologically telling the story. I'm not going from point A to point B to point C. I'm going from point C, going back up, telling point A and point B, bringing it back to point C again, and then moving forward in time from there. But the point is, if I just said, I met a guy online and we had 2 perfect weeks, that's okay. It's okay. It might get the pacing going a little bit, but it's nowhere near as powerful as finding that one point of extraordinary pain, that one point where the character is about to give up or just feels like they can't go any further. Got it?
Yep.
Got it. You're nodding, so I'm going to say yes. I can only see the 2 of you beautiful ladies, but you're both nodding, so it's okay.
Well, we see the chat with everyone, and you know, wow, I'm so excited. We have so many friends here, and I just want to pinpoint how important copy is, because it doesn't matter if you're writing your blog, your email, your pre-sale. These are tips that you can easily apply to your affiliate stuff. I mean,
it's all about drama, right? Yeah, it's all about drama. As I meant to say earlier, this is an info product, but when I write an offer for a supplement product, I write it the exact same way. The second half of the letter obviously is different because we're talking about ingredients, etc. But the storytelling and the emotional hooks you make are the exact same. And I'll tell you, I gave a speech once that was called the 4X conversion secret. And it was about how I had a VSL that I put out 8, 9, 10 years ago. It was doing okay. We were testing it to my buddy Mark Bling's list and Jordan Hall's list, and we were getting like a 2% conversion, which wasn't good enough for me. So I rewrote the entire first half of the VSL in about 3 hours, put it up, and by the next morning, we were converting at 8% in front of 2 instead of 2%. And the only reason that was true was because I made most of the VSL focus on a story at that point. People love stories. When you're writing your blog posts, when you're writing your landers, etc., if you want to grab people, the best way to grab people is going to be by telling an emotional story. Okay? Okay. Cool. So, and I knew I would never hear from him again. Kate, I thought you finally learned this with Sean, my best friend Sally said as she hugged me while I sobbed. Sally, whose idea of a successful relationship was a guy remembering her name after a one-night stand or paying for the Uber ride home. She showed up with ice cream and bad advice, another one of my favorite lines, 33 minutes after I texted her, the guy you want, Kate, he doesn't exist. You would have found him by now. You're better off just being alone. The whole point that Sally exists in the video is to kind of be that person saying, hey, you have these 2 choices right now. Here's the one you should take. It's the shitty one. It's the one where you give up. She's also going to show up again later in the video, in the VSL, as a way to kind of have her get success with the product as well, because she was obviously a very skeptical character from the beginning. So I lay there that night hugging my pillow. I almost always have this moment, the moment of making a choice, be either they're like laying in bed staring at the ceiling, or they're in their bathroom staring at themselves in the mirror and kind of seeing the person they had become. Especially for weight loss stuff, it's usually in the mirror so you can kind of see what your body is. I lay there that night hugging my pillow, alone, just like she said, feeling a raw wound where all my hope used to be, thinking about Bill, who I met at a drunken party back in college, or Mark from work, who chased me until I finally agreed to go out with him. We had 3 dates, and then he wouldn't talk to me and never looked me in the eye again. Or Chris, where did I get that name? Who I was even engaged to, who I spent 5 years with, only 2 of which were any good, because I didn't want to be alone. Again, more pacing. I want women who are watching this video to think back through their own lives about the guys that they've been with, who they got excited, but they were disappointed again and again and again. So I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and feeling the tub of ice cream rumble in my belly and the nausea in my heart. I thought about starting over again and I wanted to sob. One quick thing, I know for a fact that a lot of people, a lot of the women who buy our products are women who have been married or in a serious relationship up right until they go out on the internet and they're trying to find something to give them advice. So for them, the thing that is so painful for them is the idea of having to start over again. A lot of these are women who up until 6 months, a year before that, never thought they were going to be single again and are terrified of that entire concept. Going on Tinder or OkCupid or whatever weird dating app people were using these days, since no guys actually just walked up and asked you out anymore. Again, most of the women who buy our products are 40 years old plus. Some of them, a good percentage, are 60 years old plus. My mom actually bought one of our products once, not even knowing it was mine, but I made sure it was really funny.
But do you? I have a question here. Yeah. So because this happens a lot. So you make a product. It's a wonderful product. In this case, is dating. Tomorrow might be a supplement for your heart or vision or a male supplement. So you have this demographic in mind. We're going to sell to 45-year-old women, and then a month later you realize that half of the people buying your product are 60 and over.
Yep.
At that point, do you change your email swipes? Do you change your approach? Do you listen to, the market, or you continue doing what you're doing because it's selling?
It would depend. I would split test it at that point, right? Like, we're getting ready to split test. I'm in the middle of writing 3 different new leads for this offer, right? Because this one has been going really, really well for a couple of years at this point, but it's time to refresh it a bit more than we have. If I knew, like, we had a product called Text the Romance Back. That was my very first relationship advice product for women. That's the one I went on the Rachel Ray show for. And what we found out when we started selling that product, and we were selling a lot of that product, was that a very high percentage of the people who were buying Text the Romance Back were using it, were saying, hey, can I use this to get my ex-boyfriend back? Can I use this to get my ex-girlfriend back, right? So at a certain point when we got hundreds of those emails, we were like, hey, let's go do some work. And I did a new version of the product called Text Your Ex Back, created a whole new funnel for it based on the same principles. And that product was making us $2,000 a day for years.
Yeah, that's...
Excuse me. So, and I thought about John and how sincere he had seemed and how you couldn't fake looking at a woman like that and wondering what happened, wondering why he pulled away, wondering what I could do to make him want me again, wondering what I could do to make him chase me and hunt me and make him worship me the way I so desperately wanted him to. Notice I managed to get the product name in there really nice and early. We're using a different by the way, product naming, a lot of people get really fancy with their product names. They call it the extraordinary effect or blah, blah, blah. I really like, when I can, to make the product name kind of be the benefit in itself. I want the product name itself to really help sell the product. So I have Text the Romance Back. What does that teach you how to do? It teaches you how to use text messages to get the romance back in your relationship. Text Your Ex Back, similar kind of thing, get your ex back. The language of desire is a little bit different, but it still kind of gives you a really strong idea of what that product is going to do for you. Language of desire is basically just me saying, hey, can I find a different way to say dirty talk that has fancier words to it? We never actually even mentioned dirty talk in the entire language of desire VSL. I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah, we have a question. So on mine, so Islam, hi. I wonder if a long advertorial like that would work in geos other than the US. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Other countries?
Oh yeah, we sell this all. I mean, Australia is a big market for us. England is a big market for us. We get a surprising number of sales from like the Middle East, weirdly enough. Maybe it's because I'm Lebanese. I don't know. No, I mean, the principles are the principles of the principles. People tend to get this idea in their head that, okay, that works for that niche, but that style is not going to work for this totally different niche I'm in. And that's crap. Like, I've been doing this a long time. What works is what works is what works. And what always works is keying into people's emotions, keying into people's greed, their lust, their desire. If you read like Language of Desire, I'm very specifically using the copy in that letter to kind of get the person watching it a little bit turned on, because I want to bring up those emotions. And as we all know, when you're kind of turned on, you don't always make the most logical decisions. We don't want people making logical decisions. We don't make them making emotional decisions.
No one will ever admit to that, Chris. So
what's that?
No one is going to admit to that. So
no, but they don't have to admit it. I can tell just by I can tell anyway.
Of course.
Yeah. I can tell by the sales coming in every single day. But yeah, this stuff, this work, whatever you're going to do, whether it's a YouTube video or an advertorial or a Facebook post. I did my Facebook training with you guys months ago. Yeah. Anything. The story is what's going to grab people and get them to keep watching. There's a reason the entertainment industry is such a huge industry. We are wired as the mammals we are to be fascinated and drawn in by stories.
Yeah.
What makes us human, really?
I'm going to let you go ahead. I actually want to, one more question. Hugo, sorry for the question. No stories. I'm a newbie in this business. Where do you promote this kind of offers? Does Facebook accept this offer to promote? Oh, it's a great question. I personally can answer that, and then I'll let Chris. From a network point, because we have so many affiliates that do pretty much everything. I'm so proud that we have the best affiliates live with MaxWeb. We have seen it live on search and native and Facebook and email. And actually with Facebook, it's so much easier to get an offer like this approved than a clean supplement, because guess what? This is a digital offer. So as long as you're not being silly with your wording when you create the ad, I personally have seen this work many times. What about you, Chris?
Oh, I will say really quickly, one of the reasons I got into the relationship niche is because it's a lot safer than it is in the health niche in a lot of ways. You're not going to get in trouble with the FDA or the FTC with a relationship offer. I can make claims that are powerful, but they're not claims that are like, hey, you're going to cure your diabetes, which I would never write that letter anyway, because I have this thing called ethics. That's a weird idea, I know. You know, it's much more comfortable that way, and it's just a lot more under the radar. Also, you know, as far as traffic sources, we run a lot of YouTube to this offer. I mean, we're scaling that up again now with some new YouTube ads I wrote. We run a fair amount of Facebook. We have an affiliate who's doing a pretty decent volume of search traffic at this point. Email, actually, some of our best affiliates are emailers who have health-related lists, diet-related lists. We have, like Brad Howard actually was the top affiliate we had for Language of Desire when we launched it. And he said it was actually the best converting thing he had ever sent to his Venus Factor list at the time, even though it was a totally different niche than the health stuff. But it's a similar demographic and similar psychographic. So by the way, here's a picture of me from 10 years ago with no mustache, etc. Hello, it's Michael. The deep, kind voice said as I stared at a bald guy with penetrating eyes on my phone screen. I'm talking about myself right there. It's a little weird. We were Skyping. I'd been working to talk to him for about 3 weeks. I tried everything. See, his name is Michael Fiore. And when I scoured the internet trying to find out why John pulled away, Michael's name kept on coming up again and again. He'd written some popular books. He created these programs you could buy online about getting your ex back and using text messages to bring the romance back and how to understand the truth about men. I'd even seen a video of him on the Rachel Ray Show and liked his page on Facebook, just like over 2 million other women. That's true, we have over 2 million women on our Facebook page. It's pretty cool. So you might notice, so Michael Fiore, myself, is the creator of the Make Him Worship You program. If you buy the program, it's all written by me. My wife actually helped me write some of it because she's awesome. But the VSL is not me speaking. And we learned, the first bunch of products we did in this niche, it was me speaking. I was sometimes on camera. I'm pretty good on camera. I can do that kind of thing. Conversions were quite good. We discovered with Language Desire that actually having a woman's voice in the video pulled a lot more for us. Also, you might notice that Kate, the person who is speaking in the video, is not the creator of the product at all. And a cool thing about having her be the person who is speaking throughout the video is it actually gives Michael Fiore more credibility than if it was me speaking, saying, hi, I'm Michael Fiore. I wrote this book on Amazon that was a top seller. I was on Rachel Ray, etc. It's a way to give the guru, in this case, a tremendous amount of credibility in a kind of a more subtle way than having somebody get up and just brag about themselves the entire time. Make sense?
Absolutely. We have two more questions, Chris. Sorry.
Okay.
Good ones too. All right. So one of them, what is a good copywriting book if you want to get started writing better copy? That's a great one. I don't know the answer.
So Dan Kennedy's stuff is, there's different schools of copywriting, right? But Dan Kennedy's stuff, you really can't go wrong with. Dan's been around for years and years and years. He almost died like a year ago. He actually sent out a letter saying that he was on his deathbed, but then like 2 weeks later, he was okay again. He managed to pull.
So it was just good copy that he was writing to scare him.
Yeah. Actually, he did have a pitch in the letter that he sent out where he was announcing that he was going to die. And the pitch was like, hey, here's the guy who's taking over this part of my business, and you should definitely join his program and pay him $1,000, because Dan Kennedy is a marketer through and through and through. Dan Kennedy's stuff is great. From a storytelling standpoint, I always recommend a series of books called Save the Cat. And they're books written by a guy whose name I'm forgetting. He died years ago. But those are books that are about the structure.
I want to share them in the chat. I found them in the cat. I'm looking for the books. I'm going to share the links in the chat because this is super helpful.
Yeah, Save the Cat is great. I read that several years ago. But really, I always tell people copywriting books are great, but also read books about storytelling, read books about drama, read books about human psychology. I read a lot of books about human psychology, evolutionary psychology, what makes men tick, what makes women tick. So I'd even seen a video of him on the, wasn't there another question?
Yes, it was. I was looking for the book, which I'm going to share with you guys now. The second one was not a book, but we are asking what is a good copywriting course for affiliates. But this could apply to everyone wanting to write better copy, like a good copywriting course.
So my friend Stephen George, my buddy Stephen Georgi, he has one called the RMBC method. I think I'm interviewed in it, actually. He asked me to do something for it. I've been through that course and quite like it. John Carlton's Badass Secrets of a Marketing Rebel or something Secrets of a Marketing Rebel was one of the first courses I went through. Clayton Makepeace, who died about a year ago now, has a really big course that I've got around here somewhere that I found really helpful. Clayton's much more from the direct mail side of things, but you can still, even if you're mostly online, you can learn a lot from them. Those are kind of the top three off the top of my head.
Awesome. Super helpful. Thank you.
So, and I hoped and prayed and hoped again that he could help me. Hi, Mike. By the way, it's a female voice in the video. It's not a 43-year-old deep-voiced man who's reading this the entire time. It's a little bit different. Hi, Mike. My name is Kate, and I babbled. I couldn't believe I was finally talking to him. I mean, I had to work hard to get this interview. I told him I had a blog and a podcast and wanted to interview him because his staff said that he was really busy. His staff said he didn't do one-on-one consulting. Hi, Michael. It's really nice to meet you, I said. Yeah, you too. So how can I help you? Are we recording? What do you want to talk about? He said, and I felt ice in my heart. What was he going to say if he found out I lied? So I wanted to talk to you about why men pull away, I said. Like all the women in my audience talk about this, like it starts out great, and then after a few months or years or whatever, things change and you become invisible, he interrupted. Yeah, how did you? I asked. He stopped me right away. I get this one a lot. Every day, it's the big question. And it's the question what's the name of your show again? I know everybody in this niche, and I've never heard of you. So I scrambled for a name. I'm not creative. I never have been. I decided to tell the truth and hope it was okay. I don't actually have a show or anything. I'm just a woman from the Midwest, and the tears started to flow. I feel like it's so weird to just be standing here reading my own stuff, but there's no way to talk about the actual story without reading you the story, so I hope it's okay. I just don't know what to do. I met this guy, and I thought he was different, but he wasn't. And it hurts so much, and I feel so stupid. I told him the whole story about John, the whole story about every man my whole life. Listen, Kate, I feel for you. You're not stupid. You just fell in love, and I want to help you. I do, but do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the truth? So all of this is basically meant to both, A, build up Michael Fiore, and to create the idea that this Michael Fiore guy has secret knowledge that he hasn't actually ever shared with the world before. And even this line here, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the truth? That's actually kind of what I hung the entire Michael Fiore brand on when I first started this business 10 years ago. Because back then, all the relationship advice stuff I found was a lot of it was written by women. All of the websites were pink for some reason, which I found kind of weird and offensive, so we didn't use those colors. Yeah, there was a lot of pink. There was a lot of really flowery language, and it was a lot of bullshit. right? It was a lot of basically just telling people what they wanted to hear about who men are, as opposed to saying, hey, here's the actual truth about men, which is what I built my entire persona in that business on. I felt confused. He was staring right at me, right through me. What do you mean? I asked. I heard defeat in his voice. He suddenly seemed exhausted. Look, I've been doing this a long time, he said. I've helped a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of men. And a few years ago, I decided I wanted to do something scary. How to make him worship you, like, oh, I think there's a line missing right there. But how to make him worship you like the queen you want him to. Basically, I want to do something scary. I think it's supposed to say something like, I created a program that would teach you how to make a man worship you like the queen you want him to. That's perfect, I said. How much? I don't have money, but if you let me do a payment plan or something, no, that's the thing, Kate. I don't sell it, not to anyone. So here, there's this reluctance to give away the information, which actually raises its value in the eyes of the person who's reading the sales letter or going through the video tremendously at that point. This isn't, it's like takeaway selling. It's like, as a woman, women generally know, there's the guy who shows too much interest, and then there's the guy who kind of hangs back a little bit and lets you come to him a little bit. It's a much more powerful and much more attractive thing. It's actually similar to what I was reading a book about CIA agents and Russian agents during the Cold War. And they were saying when they were seducing women in order to give them information about the US, they would always make the woman be the one to want to have a relationship with them, or even be the one to offer to give them information. Instead of asking at any point, they would let the person give of their own volition, which is a lot more powerful. So I made it, and I invited a few women to look at it, and it didn't go well. It wasn't what they wanted to hear. They got mad, really mad. They couldn't handle it. They wanted the lie and hated me for telling them the truth. He paused for a moment like he was thinking. I feel for you, Kate, but it's nice meeting you. I need to. He looked away, grabbing for the mouse. He was turning me away. Wait, I said, I want to hear the truth. I want to hear the truth, Michael, whatever it is, no matter how much it hurts. I'm not a little girl anymore. I don't need fantasy. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to have to date again. He bit his lip. He weighed it in his mind. I shouldn't do this, he said. Every guy I know told me I shouldn't even have created this thing. They said it would destroy my career. I'm sorry, I have to go. It's been nice meeting you. Goodbye. Then we have this nice little graphic of it ending. So here's the thing. This isn't her going and just like find this information, and the guru is eager to give it to her. He's holding back and forcing her to actually continue on her journey to eventually get the info. But again, by this point in the letter, women that are watching the video, there's a little tension about like, well, is this even going to be something I have the opportunity to learn? It's not like, hey, anybody can get this. It's creating a sense of scarcity before we even say there is a product in the first place. And then I crawled into bed and cried. I tried creating a new Tinder profile, but every selfie I took, all I could see was the sadness in my eyes. I tried to write Michael again. I sent him messages on Skype. I tried to email his PR people. I'm not proud of it, but I begged. And after 3 days, something wonderful happened. I got an email from an address I didn't recognize, an email from somebody at Michael's company, Digital Romance Inc. And there's an email from my assistant at the time. Kate, hi, you don't know me. I work for Mike. I can help you. I can send you the program Mike talked about. I've been through it. It's tough. It's painful. It goes against everything I thought I knew about men, but it works. It saved my relationship. I'll send it to you, but you have to promise me you won't share it with anyone else. Promise me. You have to promise me you'll have an open mind. You have to promise me you won't tell Mike. You have to promise me you'll do what it says. I did. It saved my relationship. I wanted to save yours too. I wrote back, yes. 4 hours later, I got a link and a login to a website. She was right. It was hard to watch, hard to listen to. There were videos and worksheets and these very specific techniques to use. All this stuff about men's psychology, what it's really like to be a man, what men really think of women, and why they pull away. And my God, it's not what I thought after all. So I'm giving them benefits of the program without actually even telling them there's a product in the first place, which is a lot more subtle. It's almost like a spoonful of sugar to let the medicine go down. As soon as you mention there's a product overtly in your sales video, people's shields go up, like right away. As soon as they realize overtly that you're trying to sell them something. We were talking yesterday, if you're looking at the stats on a VSO, as soon as you really introduce the product, that's where a very large percentage of your people fall off the video and end up leaving because they're like, oh, you're trying to sell me something.
Such a good point.
What's that?
Such a good point, because that happens a lot. And, you guys know how important it is when and I see a couple of you guys are also product owners, not just affiliates. So, it's that Emily was saying the same thing when her and I discussed her copy. She does such a good job with her offer as well. And, I don't know, is there a trick where you can get them past that moment where they feel like, oh my gosh, they're selling something, I'm going to go?
You just have to give them enough energy, and you have to get them engaged enough in the story and present the results that people are getting with the product very, very powerfully, so that by the time they actually find out there's a product, they're almost more excited about it than otherwise. We have a lot of people in our VSLs, even before we get to the actual pitch and the bullets, as soon as the product reveals, we have the button pop, and the earlier button pop tends to get us more sales. By the way, I had a guy I knew years ago. He's not a very good marketer. He's in this niche. I'm not going to say who it is. And he was telling me that he did a split test on the button pop when the button on the video shows up and you can buy or not. And he was saying, oh yeah, man, we get so many, we convert so much better when our button pops at the very beginning of the video. And my response to that was, yeah, that's because your copy sucks, dude. That's because people don't want to watch your copy. And the only people who are converting are ones that are already 90% pre-sold on the offer.
Usually, like your name or the niche, yeah.
Exactly. Usually having the button pop halfway, at the product reveal or later is what's going to get you the most sales.
So I have because I don't know if you can see the Q&A, because we have the chat.
I cannot seem to.
Not a problem. So I'll help. That's what I was doing. So I answered the ones that I was able to, but so one of the question is, how much of a good offer or a good pre-sale, a good email, is the actual copy or the presentation? And when I say, I'm pretty sure that what John means by presentation is the font and the colors and the picture.
It's all the, it's going to be 90%. Most of my best performing emails have no pictures, have just the basic email font. We might put a screen grab in sometimes because that can get a higher click-through rate. But the copy is everything as far as email goes. The subject line is
So the customers are reading the copy. This is something that I've noticed, even if it's a long email, right? Customers, especially if they're interested, they're going to read. It's not a problem with long copy. It's just a problem with bad copy. And,
God, yeah, that's a thing too. People who are new to marketing, they always think like, people don't have enough of an attention span for this kind of thing. Exactly. Nobody's going to read this. Nobody's going to watch this VSL. I have VSLs that are over an hour long that convert very, very well. The example I always give too is like, Joe Rogan has a 3-hour podcast every week and a lot of people listen to it. People will watch 50 episodes of a TV show back to back to back to back if they're actually engaged in it. It's not about length, it's about being interesting. Great copywriters are ruthless with their copy. You go through and you cut out, you every single line in the copy has to earn its place, but there's going to be a lot of lines. Most VSLs I do are between 5,000 and 9,000 words at the end of the day. The first Harry Potter book was 40,000 words. So it's, a pretty big chunk of that. So I felt sick the next day, so nervous. Like I was standing on a ledge 40 feet up and hoped like hell the bungee cord would stop me from falling to my death. I do a lot of similes in my stuff. I tried texting John a couple times over the last few weeks, but nothing. But this time I tried something different. I sent him a simple 3-word text I learned from Michael and felt my heart in my throat as I hit send. And this time, just 10 minutes later, John answered. Again, I haven't said there's a product yet, but I'm already putting essentially a bullet at this point about the 3-word text that you're going to get in the product early on without even making any indication whatsoever that you might be able to buy it or you might be able to get it.
I love it. This is so good. I like every bolded word, the space between the sentences. I'm so grateful you're going through, to the actual copy with us, because this is, it's going to help me write better emails. They don't have to do it. They don't have to have a correlation with the niche. You can just tell, it's great.
Oh, and a really quick thing. Sometimes people who are new to the business thing, they're like, oh, but your grammar is not very good. I'm like, you are right. My grammar sucks, and it sucks on purpose, because grammatically correct writing is not how people speak, right? I want my copy to be something that feels like it might be something somebody would actually say out in the world. There's also, if you go through my stuff, there's a fair amount of hypnotic language and NLP kind of weaved through it, because I studied some of that stuff when I was younger.
Cool.
I have run-on sentences all the time, and it's for a reason. It's not because I don't know how to put words in front of each other.
That's a
So,
really good point. I mean, about making sure the customer understands, what you're trying to say, because otherwise you're going to sound like a snob, and
yeah.
no
And
one
you have
likes
to use
a
the
snob.
same language they use, right? You have to kind of know,
Yeah.
you have to know your niche well enough to know what kind of words they're going to use. So, and instead of being coy or playing, he asked me if I wanted to get together for a drink. And instead of being coy or playing games or trying to seduce him, I did what the program said. First, I used the testosterone telepathy technique I learned. It's simple, just 3 words, but he looked at me confused. Again, I'm putting another bullet that would normally go after the product reveal early on because I want them to start salivating about learning this thing. And also the name of the technique, testosterone telepathy technique, you're like, well, what is that? And you kind of know what it is if you know what testosterone is, but you don't know well enough. That creates this level of curiosity and opens a loop for the person who's reading the DSL or reading the script. So he looked me right in the eye, and I saw his jaw relax, and he blinked a few times like he was waking up from a dream. And suddenly it's like he was there again. That night he came to my place, and we just cuddled and talked. Over the next few weeks, day by day, I used the program. I printed out the worksheets. I watched the videos over and over. It wasn't what I wanted to be true, but slowly, day by day, doing what it said, accepting that it might be true, it worked. Suddenly, John was texting me again. What I said before, women do not want to be the ones who are doing the chasing, right? So her success in this is that she's not having to put a lot of energy and go out there. She's inspiring him to be the one to text her. Protects the romance back. We used to get an objection sometimes from women who were saying, well, I don't want to be the one who's romancing him. I want him to be romancing me. And so we really had to position position the product as inspiring him to romance you. Because fundamentally, by the way, women are not romantic, no matter what they may think. Women like to be romanced in general, but aren't generally very romantic themselves. Suddenly, John was texting me again. He was looking at me when we went out to dinner. He was telling me how beautiful I was. Over and over, I caught him staring at me with hunger in his eyes. And when he kissed me, it was primal and passionate and deep. So we're kind of bringing things full circle at this point. We opened up with a kiss, kiss me like his sister, but now there's a kiss that actually has passion to it again. We've solved that problem, solved the big crisis she was in. And before go ahead.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the circle, like you covered so much from the story, the life of the person we're following the story with here, yet it wasn't hard to follow, right? It was like quick, but we were covering a lot of ground, right? But we even got to introduce the friend that was giving bad advice, which
really quickly though. Like, you don't need to use a lot of words to do this kind of thing all the time. You just kind of need to trigger the right emotions and put the right kind of details in there. And we're getting back to the friend right now, weirdly enough. Before I knew it, he and I were a we, and I suddenly didn't feel very alone at all. Again, at the beginning, he kissed me like his sister, and I knew I was alone again, but now she's not alone anymore. What the hell happened to you two? Sally asked as I told her about my new boyfriend. Did you drug him? Is that it? Because that was over. Like, I was ready to stage an intervention if you even mentioned his name again. I can't tell you, I said. I learned a few things. What things? Tell me. I held out. I promised not to tell anyone. Promised. Sally is very persistent, but eventually she gave up and went home. I wrote Anne, who's Michael's Fiori's assistant, and told her how grateful I was. But the next day I felt ice in my veins and fear in my heart, like I was being hunted by an angry tiger, because my printouts, my marked up worksheets, all the amazing techniques and tricks and methods Michael had created and Anne had risked her job to send me, they were gone. So we bring Sally back for a reason, because in the story, we've said, hey, Kate, who's the person speaking, had a problem. She didn't know how to solve the problem. She found Michael Fiori. She got the product. She used the product, even though we haven't really said there's a product yet, and she got results. And that's great, but it can't be a thing that only works for this one person. So we don't actually use testimonials in these kind of videos because in the past we've gotten in some trouble. There used to be a problem. We actually should weave more of them in. But this is kind of like giving a case study, basically, without having to have an actual testimonial where we stop and have somebody say, hey, my name is Mary from Washington, and here's the result that I got. It's an easier way to weave it in. So then, do you really buy this crap? Sally asked when I got her on the phone. You shouldn't have done that. I can't believe you, I screamed. not wanting John to hear me from the other room where he was getting ready for work after another blissful night together. This is what you did with John? She asked with sheer disbelief in her voice. Yeah, it works. Okay, it worked for me. I was pissed off about it at first, but I'd rather be happy than right, okay? Now give it back, I beg. We're bringing this back again to what Michael Fiore was saying in the earlier scene, where he's saying, hey, this isn't what you're going to want to hear, but it's what the truth is. We're having Sally kind of echo that again and bringing up this idea of, again, I'd rather be happy than right. Do you want to learn what's actually true about men, or do you want to hear what you want to hear? I will, Sally said, but I'm going to try it first with Jeremy. I've been seeing him for a whole 2 weeks. I want to see what happens when I do this. What have I got to lose besides some not bad sex? Sally texted me 3 days later. I can't show you what she said, but it rhymes with holy mitt. Jesus, he asked me to go to his brother's wedding with him. What did you say, I asked. I asked him if he was high, and then I said yes. We need to make copies, Sally said. We need to give this to your sister. We need to give this to your mom and Debbie. And no, I promised I wouldn't share it, I said. Yeah, you didn't share it. I stole it. Blame me, she replied. And that's how it got out. So kind of the thing here is like, I didn't want to like wound the ethics of Kate as a character, right? So she got this information from Anne, who's the assistant, and was told, hey, don't share this with anybody. If she just kind of went out and shared it with people, you really wouldn't like her as much. Yeah. You'd be like, hey, why did she do that? Sally as a character is kind of even exists to be able to be the one who forces this information out into the world without Kate kind of taking a wound to who she is. So
well, I know you're not going to believe this. It's been almost an hour. Mm-hmm. So I would love for us to first. I'm going to share the URL because if you guys want to go through this later on, I know I will because I want to know what's going on.
We've gotten to a pretty good point to stop. I'll give a quick, after you speak, I'll give a really quick summary of where it goes from there. And then we can talk about
please. Give me a summary of where it goes, and then I want to go through the questions because they're really, really good.
Cool. So where it goes from here is Sally gets her results, right? So Sally, who's somebody who dates a lot, who maybe is relatively promiscuous, is never a person who ever has a boyfriend. She ends up getting a boyfriend out of this. She goes to her brother, somebody's wedding, et cetera, et cetera. Then from there, because Sally got results and she's kind of brassy, she ends up making sure that the information gets shared with 8 of her friends. 8 women who used to get together once a week to complain about our crappy relationships, etc. One by one, we actually go through 3 or 4 of those women and talk about the results they got. And those results are meant to echo the different kind of cases of the type of woman where they might be in their relationship. It's not just single women who this offer is created for. I also want women who are in a relationship but aren't getting the level of passion they kind of want out of it to buy the product. So there says here, me, Sally, my friend Amanda, whose husband finally put down his damn phone and looked at her when she learned this one tiny secret, right? Just to make sure that demographic is covered. So then they actually go through, she ends up talking to Michael again. Kate and Anne and everyone else gangs up on Michael Fiore and basically forces him to release the product even though he doesn't want to, which once again creates a much higher sense of value for the product, creates a sense of scarcity. Finally, he says yes. He said we could test releasing this Make Him Worship You program to a small number of women. That goes back to him saying how to make a man worship you early on. And then it gets out there. I make them actually promise not to share it themselves, essentially. Promise to forget every fantasy you've had about what men are supposed to be, erase every bit of crap you learned from Cosmo, etc. And then if you can do that, that's going to be a life-changing event for you, just like it was for me, etc. A kind of bit of pacing. And then we get into the actual bullets and talking about what's actually in the product.
Fantastic.
Does that make sense?
I love it. So I just shared in the chat the Make Him Worship You, the actual preview with the URL for you guys, where you can also sign up for the offer, but also you can see the URL and also language of desire. And I promise I'll go through all the questions. The first one I have here from Ayub Bilal. Hi, does including images help endorsing the story or not really?
Oh, it does to a bit. If you actually go to the VSL, the control version of the VSL we have right now is just words on a white background, right? It's just basically a PowerPoint video. We are considering putting some money into testing, having a higher production value. in the near future. You know, when I've done split tested basic VSL versus high production value in the past, sometimes the high production value has given us a 10 or 20% boost. Sometimes it's actually decreased our conversions. That's partly because my writing is very evocative and I really want people to create these images in their own mind instead of having to show them ourselves. We do tend to put pictures in the long form because I just think it looks cooler. I did find years ago, though, that when you have higher production, you tend to get, like, affiliates get more excited about it than the actual customers do. Customers are going to buy from the video, whatever, as long as the copy is good, but affiliates often like to push things that are a little bit fancier.
Love it. All right, so this is a good question. Do you use any tools for inspiration? So I think by tools for inspiration, what they mean, I know when we have to write good headlines, there are tools like headline generator, right? So when you need inspiration for writing good copy, do you use any tools or really it's just life experience?
Life experience, and I just talk to people in the niche, right? Like I really like women. I just really like them. I'm a fan of women. A lot of my best friends are women. It's been that way my entire life, despite being a very large masculine man. I just really think women are cool. So I talk to women about their own experiences. I talk to my mom because she's actually in my target market. I also will look at stuff from our YouTube ads, some of the data we have, like finding out that country music fans are a big part of our market, finding out that women who make over $100,000 a year are a big part of our market. And I know that those women, there's this feeling, you know, no woman I know ever wants to marry a guy or date a guy who makes less money than they do, generally speaking. There's a few outliers, but generally they kind of see that as a problem because it's going to wound the pride of the man more than anything else. And there's a real problem with women that are wealthier, often just having a hard time finding men they can respect or look up to, because most women want to look up to the man in their lives in some way. So I can create copy that's kind of built around that psychographic, just knowing that data from our YouTube ads or from our Google ads.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, you know, one of the things you mentioned, asking and chatting with people in our industry, that's important. And that's, we actually offer this advice to affiliates very often. You know, besides having a good relationship with us and the account managers, we encourage them to go on forums and group chats, even on Skype, where they can connect with other people.
Yep.
So to that note, are there any groups that you like, where you think people would actually, it wouldn't be a waste of time for them to be part of that Facebook group or that forum?
Oh man, not off the top of my head, but I do a lot of my research on Reddit, actually, right? If you go to Reddit, there's sub-forums for everything, right? So if you're researching women with weight issues, you can find hundreds of different Reddit threads that are about different types of women having different types of weight issues. And you can get in there and you can read some really terrible stories about how women are suffering, how people are suffering, how men are suffering in their own kind of niches. You can learn a lot just by digging through Reddit.
Awesome, I added that there. Hi, Bikram. Bikram is asking, can we add videos to this kind of copywriting?
What do you mean by, do you mean have it be like a video thing, or do you mean like
No, I
having videos?
think he means like right now as we're scrolling to the sales copy. So
Sure.
instead of having a picture, maybe adding a video and I don't know, showing some.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to like, this is the actual, this is the VSL here, right? This is the actual thing that gets most of the traffic. It's just that if I tried to use the VSL while I was going through the copy with you guys, it would take forever because we'd be hitting play and then pause and then play and then pause and then play and then pause.
Right.
But if you go to the actual site, this is the thing that actually starts off in the first place. And it just goes right into the copy, you know, black and red copy on a white screen. We don't have a lot of pictures in this case. Weirdly enough, we did find out that having this background with the clouds increased our conversions by like 9%.
I was about to ask if that was the original one or you just noticed, because funny enough, just last week, one of our best offers, it's in the health, not in the relationship space. So it's beautiful to see that there's a correlation. Something as easy as changing the background can change the conversion rate.
But again, it's like what works is what works is what works, right? Wherever in the world people are, whatever niche it is. The reason I got successful in the relationship niche pretty quickly when I did was because I came from the make money online niche. And I took a lot of the ideas and principles of marketing I learned from there and the hype I learned from there and applied it to relationships. And, you know, my buddy Mark Ling was telling me that, you know, before I came into that niche, he was often getting like 40 cents a click when he was sending offers. And then when he first promoted Text the Romance back, he got $3.50 a click because I was just using much more powerful marketing ideas.
Yep, I love it. John, no, we covered that. Mark, perfect. We have that.
While we have a minute, sorry, Anna.
Yeah.
Chris, do you mind just repeating the courses you mentioned earlier?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You went through it a bit fast, so just so we can share it with our friends.
Steph and Georgi's RMBC method is quite good. Stefan and Justin have a great, actually they have a great group on Facebook called Stefan and Justin Talk Copy. I pop in there occasionally. There are a couple of guys who came up kind of when I was off being sick and whatever else, who I really quite like as copywriters and do a good job teaching. John Carlton stuff is quite good. Clayton Makepeace's stuff is quite good. Beyond that, I'm not really aware of who else is really out there teaching. My buddy Kevin Rogers, actually. Kevin Rogers has a really great group for copywriters as well.
Great, thanks.
Was that John Carlton, the third one?
Yeah, John Carlton. He's an old mentor of mine who taught me a lot back in the day. He's very curmudgeonly, though, as he gets a little bit older. He's very curmudgeonly.
Well, it's such an important question. And what else, when we are trying to be successful here, right? We are trying to write amazing offers. We are trying to write, ads that work. Tell me a bit about the mindset. Like, you're someone that's so darn successful. Can you give affiliates some advice, something that they can take home today that's actually going to help them be better at what they do? It can be something personal, like, I don't know, I always say make your bed in the morning because it might help you be more organized. But that doesn't work for everyone, right?
There's a couple of things. One is don't expect it to happen overnight, right? Like in our niche, there's a lot of people that are teaching make money online. And they're like, hey, you're going to go from making $0 to making $10,000 your first month or making $20,000 your first month. That's extraordinarily rare. It happens occasionally, but it's extraordinarily rare. The people that are successful in our business are the people that are willing to do the work. I don't work a lot of hours, but when I'm at work, I'm at work. I only work 4 to 6 hours a day, generally speaking. I take a lot of time off because I like doing that. I also have some significant health issues that mean I can't really work an 8-hour day most of the time. But just getting up and doing it every single day, consistency is more important than having these flashes of insight or working 40 hours in a day or anything. Doing 1 hour or 2 hour a day, even if you have a regular job still, will get you where you're going to go. Being humble about it. The great thing about direct marketing is that the market doesn't lie. We were talking yesterday, Anna, about, Scott was asking you about if it's hard to be a woman in this space, right? And it certainly seems to be easier and better to be a woman in our space now than it was 10 years ago. But at the end of the day, if you can bring the money to the table and get the conversions, nobody cares. They don't care what sex you are. They don't care what race you are.
If you get stuff done and you actually get stuff done, people are going to respect you. I completely agree.
Yeah, nobody cares what, like somebody was, my mom used to ask me like why I didn't get my master's in business. And I'm like, why would I want to do that? There's no benefit to me to going back to grad school and getting that. I'm learning by going out and actually doing it every day and seeping myself in the emotions of our marketplace. But it's doing the work. It is work, right? This stuff isn't easy. Becoming a great copywriter, a great marketer isn't easy, but it's worth the work. I get to live a life of profound freedom, right? I'm not a greedy person. I've done pretty well. I've made millions of dollars. Nobody in my regular life would ever assume that if they just kind of met me out there. I drive a Subaru and I do that for a reason. I'm not very flashy. I'm not one of those people. By the way, the flashiest people are usually broke. I think Anna can say that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we know it. And I'm glad you mentioned that because we made a promise to our affiliates, especially our affiliates that are getting started. And the biggest success stories that I'd love to share about MaxWeb is when our affiliates tell us, I was able to quit my 9-to-5, right? So quitting your job and doing this full time, that's a darn accomplishment, right? That's real accomplishment in your life where you can support yourself and your family from doing the work. Because Chris is right. I mean, we respect everyone, but we would lie not to tell you that the people with the flashy Instagram profiles with Lamborghinis and watches, I mean, I'm not saying all of it is fake, but we know, let's just say we know a lot of them that are actually broke, right?
They really are.
We're not doing to shade anyone. It's just the reality. we don't want you to feel bad, right? So we're sharing this because if you're not there yet and you think it's not successful enough, that all you're doing is, doing this full time, well, be proud of yourself. I mean, if you're doing affiliate marketing full time, you're amazing, right? Yeah. And then if you got to, I know a lot of you guys, I see a couple of you guys here who are at $1,000 a day already.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, you don't need to buy that Lamborghini yet. Believe me, you're doing very, very well.
Well, that's the thing too. Like for me, money is freedom, right? Like my biggest nightmare is having to get a job, partly because I'm ADHD and bipolar and people fire me very quickly because of that. But like I got fired from every single job I ever had before I started doing my own stuff. But for me, like you could take away my house, you could take away the money I have in the bank, as long as I could still make money by doing marketing and not having to go work for somebody else, I'd be pretty happy, honestly.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. I mean, this is what happened last time. It's been over an hour. I feel like we can cover so much more.
We could, yeah, we could.
So I promise you guys, we'll do this again. We'll let you know when Chris is back. And I promise you, please ask us. You have the Skype of all of us. We added it to the chat. Everything that we did not cover, I promise you, I will ask Chris, and when he has time, he'll let me know and I'll reply. I'll make sure you get everything answered, because you guys are important and we appreciate you. So
and maybe next time we can go through like how to actually craft a pitch. This is we did all the story stuff, or most of the story stuff here. Maybe next time we can go through how to do bullets, how to do position benefits, how to bring the price up in a program, and how to position the price so it seems actually cheap, how to do a close. I use the crossword close every time. That's really fun. There's a lot more we can kind of talk about.
I love it. Absolutely. So, thank you. I mean, that's the most important thing. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I promise everyone, if we did not get to your question, we will, I promise. We love you, and you guys have an awesome day. And we'll save the chat so you'll have the notes as well.